record this. So, yeah, so I'm not. Yeah, so maybe go through. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think you are going to have to go through each of these these different modules, and then go through all the lectures, to do, all these subcategories and stuff, and just look to see what the structures are, what they're, because we're pretty much whatever the chapter's talking about, we're covering in class. We're talking about it, we're reading about it, like, this is on Umweltorganisationen, so those are environmental organizations. So we'll read about what these people are engaged in, which organizations they're working on, what they think about them.
Yeah, let's see if I can do it, if I can catch up, because I don't know how far behind I am.
Okay. Okay. So, hello, Emma.
Hallo.
So, hast du Fragen über irgendetwas? Any questions about anything that we've done so far?
Nein. Sorry I've been gone for so long. I've been working.
Problem,
And
das verstehe ich.
I'm also a UCSB student, and right now the graduate workers are on strike.
Oh, that's right, huh?
Yeah. So I've been participating in the strike and helping make food.
Oh, good for you. Ja, ich habe gelesen, dass das eine von den größten Strikes ist, was bei die UCs gibt. I read that it was one of the biggest strikes that the UCs have ever had.
Yeah, it's the biggest strike in the biggest university strike in US history.
What is it for? Why are they on strike for?
COLA, cost of living adjustment. So they get paid an average of $24,000 a year. And they pay an average of 80% of their wages for rent. And a lot of them are in poverty. So they're asking for better wages and fair labor practices and contracts across all 10 UC campuses.
Right. Wow.
It's awesome.
That's terrible. I did not know they made such little money. God, especially in an area, well, anywhere in California, that's not enough money.
Yeah, anywhere. And
wow.
Hopefully it opens up for asking more out of all universities and the government.
Well, when Pelotano was, or whatever her name was the president of all the UCs, maybe she still is, she was making a hefty salary, and she had no experience in education whatsoever, in running a university, nothing. And I was like, wow, they're paying her a ton of money, and she's, new to this whole thing. It was pretty, the gap is pretty amazing.
Yeah, this year the chancellor that gets paid the least is paid $500,000 a year. So yeah, and they don't have any education background. They don't have to.
Yeah. Wow, that's insane. Wow. Terrible. All right. Machen wir dann weiter mit der Umwelt. Recyceln und Restmüll. Was ist Restmüll? Wenn man das sieht, Restmüll, was bedeutet das?
Reuse?
I
don't know, I'm thinking reuse.
Waste?
Yeah. Restmüll is like everything that can't be recycled. Okay. So ich habe heute gesehen, dass man hier in der Schule jetzt 3 verschiedene Mülleimer hat, Trash Cans. So es gibt Recyceln, den Müll und dann auch Kompostmüll. Aber ich weiß nicht, wo sie hier komposten. Aber ich fand das interessant, dass sie das jetzt machen. So Restmüll is pretty much, the stuff that goes to the landfill. The residual waste. It's not recycling. It's not compost. It's not, die haben auch in verschiedene Plätze in Deutschland Biomüll. So like, biological Müll. And I think some of that stuff will end up in composting. It's things that, can be reabsorbed, I guess. It's not like, plastic and things like that sit forever in a day.
I don't get, it's unrecyclables, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Like, the things that are just
Restmüll is the unrecyclable, it's the residual waste. So it would be things like, if you have like, say something, a styrofoam container from
okay.
a restaurant. So the food inside would be what, and anything that, can't be recycled would go into the residual waste, and then the other stuff goes in the recycling. Because the idea is not to just throw everything in together, to clean things, to rinse things out. I kind of have a problem with that because it's like, well, then I'm wasting something else. I agree. You don't want to have food in, you don't just throw recyclables and that are containing food or whatever. But I always think it's weird that, they want you to rinse everything. It's like, well, now I'm wasting water by rinsing all of this stuff. But I get it. I always thought there, some things are recycled with heat, and I would think, well, any food particles left would be destroyed by the heat. But, I get it. The idea is if we're recycling something to be reused, we obviously want it clean. So
I heard somewhere
Mhm.
that the recycling industry, the modern recycling industry, was built by the plastic industry to make
Oh.
plastic more sustainable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting because I have seen stuff, that is that are plastics that say that they're recyclable. And I'm always like, well, what does that mean? Is it, can they reuse it? You have seen things that, were recycled from plastic, and it's, I don't know. I know I've heard that they can make glass frames from recyclable plastic, that, they can make shoes, added to shoes and whatnot. So I don't know. I would think in this day and age they would be able to figure out what to do with all those plastic bottles that, we're still guilty of using. I try very hard not to, but it's really easy to grab a plastic bottle and,
Well, we recycle like crazy in this house, and with plastics and aluminum, and even with we have a big trash can outside that's we're supposed to put it in there, but instead we will put only cardboards and things like that can be recycled for that one, and the plastic bottles and the cans the kids will either take them and get some money if they go to one of those little places, and if not, it's one of my backup money for lunch. You're gonna say there's something like that if I ever wanted to, but I haven't done it since this happened. But we've always done that. So but I've seen that people like on TV, it's also in Europe, they recycle like crazy. There's like
Yeah.
little yellow ones and little other things, and I'm like, what? Why don't we do something like that? Were we left behind on these things?
Yeah, I don't
Or is
know.
it?
It's what I've seen in Germany where they even recycle the glass bottles by color. They have the clear glass, the green glass, the brown glass.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I lived in Reno, they started doing that, but they stopped that for some reason. They just dump everything too in one big container, recycling container.
Yeah, I went to Mexico one time, and my aunt sent me and my cousin down to the corner store for some Coke and some Pepsi and 7 Up, you
Mhm.
know, and I was already walking out, and she's like, "Wait, where are you going?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? We're gonna go get you the soda." And she said, "Well, here you need to have the things. I guess they get a cheaper discount if they take the old bottle,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
and we don't do that here." And I
Well,
always
we
felt like,
pay for it. They charge us every time you buy a can of something and a bottle of something, you get charged auf Deutsch heißt es ein Pfund. You're charged what do they call it? You're charged like 10 cents. And if you bring it back, you take it to a recycling center, you'll get, you get money out of that, but that's money that you've already paid for. And it used to be, gosh, when I was probably a teenager, you could take bottles and things back to certain stores and they would give you that money back. Or they would, instead of charging you the next time, like say you brought back, a 12 pack of cans and then you bought a 12 pack of cans of Pepsi or whatever, then it kind of balanced out.
hmm
But the stores don't do it anymore because they didn't know what to do with all the recycling.
yeah, I think
You
that's
know,
the problem. But they
yeah,
still do it in Mexico.
huh,
And I'm like,
interesting.
well, why is it that we don't catch up with it or do something like that? At
Yeah.
least become
Yeah,
more
I
organized.
don't know what the problems were with the stores because if the recycling people weren't picking them up or something, because all of a sudden they were running out of places to put it all. And didn't they decided it wasn't their job to keep this forever and a day. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
Mexico
know.
doesn't care. They'll leave it outside where the kids can play.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's
So
probably a
yeah.
big problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, but you do pay for I can't think of what they call it in here. It says California something and it's like 10 cents a can or 5 cents a can or something, and the same for the bottles. The bottles are charged too. Um, so yeah, it's there's already a fee in that, and and I guess when they take the trash, because when I've watched the trash, they take, I've got 3 different cans, and they come 3 different times to pick it up. First, they pick up all the recycling, then they'll pick up all the trash, and then they come back and pick up all the green.
Mm.
And so that way they can sort it. Because I guess once they bring the recycling back, there's people at the transfer station that are sorting it all. And I kind of saw that a little bit once. They've got all these conveyor belts going and they're throwing stuff, bottles, cans, paper, and then it goes somewhere and gets, put together and then it's sold again. I mean, they
Mm.
sell it off to who knows, somebody comes and gets it. So, to be recycled. I don't know, if it gets sold to foreign countries that do our recycling. I don't know who recycles it, but, and then the trash, I think those trucks immediately go to the landfill and just dump out there. So I don't know if they sort that. I mean, there's somewhere in California you get fined for not putting the trash in the right trash cans. If they find recyclable products in the trash, they will fine you. And vice versa. If they find trash in there, if you put green in there in the trash bin, because I sometimes run out of room and I've thrown trash or green into the regular trash. Nobody's ever said anything here, but there's somewhere in California where you will get fined for putting it in the wrong place.
Yeah, here in Bakersfield
Yeah.
they don't get
So,
drastic like that, but I
but
understand that
they want you to be, to be careful. They want everything to go where it's supposed to. Because I'm guessing all the green stuff gets composted somewhere. Because that stuff can be composted. you know, and then again, there's stuff in the trash that most likely can be composted. I don't know, you know, because I think the other side of that too is there's stuff like animal waste. I mean, I've seen people just dump them straight into the trash. I think that's terrible because I mean, the smell would be just terrible. But if you're
That
putting them in,
reminds me.
huh?
That reminds me. Earlier, you said about why they make you. You don't know why they make us rinse things. I know that we rinse the the Coke cans before we throw them into the bag, and things like that because we don't want ants outside of the
Right,
house
right, right,
around
right,
them.
because the stuff
So
leaks.
that's
Yeah,
so that's probably why they do the food particles too.
yeah,
And other
probably,
things.
yeah. But I always put, you know, the animal waste into a plastic bag. You know, I've got a smaller trash to put them in, and when they're full, I tie them up in a plastic bag and throw them away. So I'm always thinking, well, I wonder what they do with that because, you know, they've got a, and even the trash is in from like the kitchen trash is in a plastic bag. So I don't know how they do that. I don't know if I'd want to know what they do with all that because I mean, it's got to be hard doing that job because it's got to just reek like crazy.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I've been to a landfill before and yeah, it's outside, but it still just smells terrible. So, and I can only imagine what it would be like at the transfer stations, you know, because that, you know, part of that is enclosed.
Yeah, you
So,
never get used to it. It's an awful smell.
yeah, I couldn't do it. So, nicht für mich. So, all right. So in dem Buch, whoops. Okay, so let's go back to the book. All right, so jetzt machen wir das Lesen hier in Lexikon 2. So Birgit und Talia sprechen über ihre Erfahrung mit Mülltrennung und Recycling. So lesen Sie den Text. So they're talking about trash, separating the trash, and recycling. All right, so Birgit sagte, weißt du was, Talia? Ich habe gehört, dass wir mit dem Kunststoff, den wir bisher produziert haben, die ganze Erde 6-mal in Plastikfolie einpacken könnten. Das ist unglaublich. Okay, so Kunststoff is the stuff that takes forever to degenerate. So she says, you know, they can it can go around the world 6 times. Das überrascht mich nicht. Ich habe gestern einen Film gesehen und gelernt, dass es in unseren Meeren mehrere enorme Müllplätze gibt, die größer sind als manche Länder. Die riesengroßen Müllstrudel sind meist aus Plastikmüll. Dieses Plastik zerfällt im Laufe der Zeit in immer kleinere Teilchen und die Tiere des Meeres essen das. Wenn wir dann wiederum diese Tiere essen, essen wir doch eigentlich unseren eigenen Plastikabfall. Schrecklich. All right, so she says she saw a movie about this, about the plastics, and she says there's more trash in our oceans than in most countries. And and she calls it a Müllstrudel. Well, no, strudel is like apple strudel and stuff. So it's a mix of stuff. She says it's mostly plastic, and this plastic, you know, falls apart in over time in smaller and smaller pieces, and other animals in the oceans and in the seas eat them. And then when we get around to eating these animals, we're eating our old plastic waste. So she's, you know, and I don't know if we did it in this class, maybe it was last year. there was a video about this where there is some island country, they have so much plastic on their shores that they can collect it and turn around and make money off of collecting all this plastic. That it was just the beach is just covered in plastic bottles, plastic pieces, and so on. Und dann sagt Birgit, kann man denn da überhaupt noch etwas tun? Oder ist schon alles zu spät? So she says, is there absolutely anything we can still do, or is it too late? Ich versuche immer, so wenig Müll wie möglich zu produzieren und Kunststoffabfälle zu vermeiden, wo es geht. Aber auf Reisen oder wenn es mal schnell gehen muss, kaufe ich doch auch immer wieder mal Wasser in Plastikflaschen. Aber dann bemühe ich mich, den Abfall richtig zu entsorgen und die verwertbaren Verpackungen sorgfältig vom Restmüll zu trennen. Prinzipiell will ich nichts verschwenden, was man wieder verwenden oder verwerten kann. So she says, she does everything she can not to have all this artificial waste. But when she's traveling or she's in a hurry, she'll grab a bottle of water in a plastic bottle. She does everything she can to make sure that the waste is sorted properly, and that the recyclable is separated from the residual waste. She tries with everything she can not to waste anything, and if something can be reused, that's what she does. Und dann Talia sagt, das mit dem Müll ist ganz schön kompliziert. Als Kind musste ich lernen, worauf ich achten muss, denn das Recycling war mein Job daheim. Ich habe das lieber gemacht als abwaschen. Wir waren eine große Familie und ich hatte ein gutes System. Im Keller hatte ich Kisten für Altglas, Altpapier und auch für Altkleider und alte Schuhe. In einer gelben Tonne gab ich die Verpackungen mit dem grünen Punkt gesammelt. Plastikflaschen und Getränkedosen gab es bei uns nicht. Das haben wir vermieden. In der Küche hatten wir eine kleine Biotonne. Dann habe ich jeden Abend in den Garten gebracht zu unserem Komposthaufen. All right, so Talia says, the trash is very complicated. As a child, she had to learn that you had to pay attention, and recycling was her job. She'd rather do recycling than to wash dishes. She came from a large family, and she had a really good system. In the basement, she had a box for used glass, used old paper, and old clothes and old shoes. In a little yellow container, she had packaging that with the little green dot. So in Deutschland gibt es einen grünen Punkt, und hier haben wir das Recycling-Zeichen, das Dreieck, right? There's a little triangle recycling thing on packages that can be recycled. And in Deutschland ist ein grüner Punkt. There's a little green dot on them. Plastic bottles and cans they didn't have in their family. They didn't use that in her family. In the kitchen, they had ein Biotonne. So this is for the compost, for a food waste. Die habe ich jeden Abend in den Garten gebracht zu unserem Komposthaufen. So every evening she emptied the Biotonne into the compost pile. Und dann sagt Birgit, ach wirklich, bei uns war das ganz ähnlich. Ein paar Mal im Jahr konnten wir auch den Sperrmüll und den Sondermüll entsorgen. Da standen viele sperrige und unbrauchbare Dinge auf den Straßen. Auch viele Eimer mit Farbresten oder Putzmitteln und anderen Schadstoffen. Ich denke, dass sich die Mülltrennung lohnt. Es soll nicht alles unsortiert auf der Mülldeponie oder in der Müllverbrennungsanlage landen. Okay, so she said, Birgit says in her family, they did pretty much the same. A couple of times a year, they could bring things like Sperrmehl and Sondermüll. Those are things like, you know, how they have here, where you can drop off like the electronics, and things like that. So this was for, you know, things obviously that you can't put in the trash. And so a couple of times a year they were able to do that. Also there were, you know, things that, you know, unusable things in the street that they would pick up and take to these places. There were also buckets of paint that was left over or cleaning materials, and other, you know, hazardous stuff. She believes that separating the trash is worth it. You know, not everything should go unsorted to the, you know, like the transfer station or to the where they burn the trash. It shouldn't land in those places. I don't know if we do any trash burning here. You know, I don't know. I thought they stopped that here because of you know, that it
Mhm.
adds to the pollution.
Yeah, I don't see it other than ghetto people here in Bakersfield. They still do it. Some people do
Yeah, people might do it, but
bonfires, but they don't
yeah, I
allow
don't
it.
think
It's not a
yeah. Yeah, and I don't think because I'm sure long, long time ago they burned trash, but I that just added to, you know, the Umweltverschmutzung to the you know, to dirtying the environment, to
Yeah, there
pollution and
was a
such.
letter we got recently. I guess someone was burning something over here and there's a lawsuit against them now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they were offering if we wanted to, we're fine. I don't think we're any of us gotten poisoned by something like that, you know. But
Mhm.
yeah, that can
Well, yeah,
happen.
that's true because if you're burning trash, you don't know what's in there that could be lethal when burned. So also, auf vielen Schildern in der Stadt lesen die Wiener, das ist in Österreich in Vienna, bau keinen Mist. Mist bauen heißt Fehler machen, etwas nicht richtig machen. So, bau keinen Mist, don't build trash. So here in English, you know, bau keinen Mist, don't mess up. Der Mist translates as dung. If you're planning an advertising campaign in German-speaking world that involves all kinds of fragrant mist, beware. Germans might associate it with a different kind of smell. Oh, like a mist. I'm sitting here reading this, going like, I don't understand. How could you, you know, misinterpret dung with mist? But like when you're doing, you know, a spray that's a mist, I get it. They might think that you're spraying dung or something when you use that word.
Hmm.
So here's things like, you know, these kinds of things that you don't throw in the trash, you know, old microwaves, washers, furniture, and so on. And so here's a collection, you know, they're doing, you know, a collection on the street on the 17th of, you know, whatever day, um, between these hours. So they're coming to pick it up. And it's like they do here, you know, you can go and bring, mostly it's electronics. I've never seen, I know twice a year the trash will come and get like old furniture, old mattresses, things like that. Otherwise, you have to pay extra if you want them to come out and pick up things like that. Because the regular trash collection, they won't pick this stuff up.
We have a company called Metro here.
Mhm.
You just have to call them and you're allowed four furniture objects, four big objects of any kind. And they'll pick them up
Oh, wow.
once a month, just four objects a month. And I
That's pretty
think
good.
some people don't read the yellow pages or the white. I mean the white page. Well, it's in the yellow pages, in the front pages, but they just see other people do it on the street, and they get picked up, and they think they can do the same.
Mhm.
Like further down the street, there's a church just have two toilets outside of their
Oh my
outside of the thing, and
gosh.
they've been there for like 3 months already. And
Wow.
I think that they didn't were probably either thinking someone would pick them up, or that they thought because other people have done that, called Metro, and they haven't. I'm starting to think I'm just gonna call it for them.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that's interesting. I know here you can I think twice a year they'll come and pick up all kinds of stuff. But they'll come more often, but you have to pay. You have to pay extra, or you can get a dumpster to come out and you can dump stuff in the dumpster. But I think, because I don't know what they do with all of this. I mean, I see a lot of mattresses out and about, people getting new mattresses and then throwing their mattresses out on the street. And I'm just like, so what do you expect that to do?
Oh yeah, you see that from. Luckily, that hasn't been a problem here, but I've seen that before. I know.
Yeah, but I don't know what people think is going to happen to those used mattresses. That
They just
somebody's gonna
magically
pick
get
them
picked up.
Yeah, I guess, it's
They'll be
kinda
used by
funny.
someone else.
Oh, that's so gross.
I know.
You don't know what people have done,
No, I know.
Well, I had to throw a couch out once because a rat got in it and it peed all over the place and stuff. And they even put a sign on it that said, "Do not take," and I'd called the trash to come and get it. I said, "Do not take." Somebody took it.
Their feces could kill us. We have to
Yes,
be
I mean, and
careful.
I
Yeah.
said there were rats in here. Do not take. And somebody picked. I know it wasn't the trash people because they came, and I happened to see them, and I ran out there. I said, "Somebody picked it up," and they're like, "Gross." And I was like,
Yeah, we had the same problem in grandma's house because it's older houses, and we had to do the same thing with one of her sofas.
Yeah, I had no idea
until we found the hole in the house where it was.
Oh, it came. I know how it got in. I used to keep the back door open a little bit for the dogs to get out because I sat there. I had a conversation with my pets and told them, "You guys are not doing your job. If a rat got inside the house, you guys are not paying attention here." Because I was surprised too. I had a cat, I had 2 dogs, and I was like, "How did anything get into the house?" I mean, it wasn't there anymore. But when we pulled the couch out, I saw the feces in the back. I mean, I just about lost it. I'm out there with bleach cleaning like crazy. And then we needed to take the cushions off so we could get it outside. And we saw that it looked like something had peed in it. And I was like, oh my God. I said, I'm not touching any more of this. We're just putting a sign on here, do not take. And I said, I'll call the trash people to pick up. Because I was, I didn't want somebody to get sick.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe that somebody picked it up. I thought, geez,
Yeah,
I warned you. All right. So, mention die Umwelt. So we'll listen to this, was Sie da zu sagen haben von Recycling und Restmüll.
Leider ist das Plastikrecycling in Österreich oder hier in Wien noch nicht so, oder wird nicht so gut gemacht. Ich kenne eben aus Deutschland, dass das ganze Plastik recycelt wird, dass es spezielle Behälter gibt für Plastik, und in Wien kann man eigentlich nur Plastik-PET-Flaschen recyceln. Alles andere wird eben in der Müllverbrennungsanlage zusammengeschmissen und verbrannt. Das finde ich sehr schade, weil ich denke, man könnte da sicher noch einiges Energie draus gewinnen durch die Recycling von Plastik. In Deutschland gibt es den grünen Punkt schon sehr, sehr lange. Also ich war noch ein Kind, als der eingeführt wurde. Und da wurden eben damals diese gelben Tonnen aufgestellt, beziehungsweise gelbe Säcke. Und da kann alles, was an Verpackung anfällt, an Plastikmüll, wird da rein entsorgt, auch Getränkeverpackungen, Tetrapack und Metall auch, wird nicht extra gesammelt, das wird dann im Mülldepot dann verziert. Ich weiß, dass es das auch in Österreich gibt, außerhalb von Wien. Die haben auch die gelbe Tonne. Das hat aber mit der Müllverbrennungsanlage in Österreich zu tun, soviel ich weiß, dass die eben das Plastik braucht, damit genug Energie entsteht, damit sie gut arbeiten kann. Deswegen sind die einfach noch nicht so weit und nehmen das halt in Kauf, dass mehr Plastik verbrannt wird als recycelt.
All right, so she was saying that a lot of that Austria is not quite there yet with all of the recycling, the plastic recycling. She mentioned too that they they still do burn some, which is kind of interesting because I really did think that had gone away, that they weren't, that no one was burning anything any longer. But because she said otherwise it's too much. And she says, they haven't. It's not that the people don't want to recycle; they just don't have the ability to recycle all of it right now. She said mostly it's things that have to drink in it, drink stuff inside, sodas and things like that. Not everything, because they don't have the capability of recycling everything. So interessant.
It'd probably be a good business to create.
Das habe ich mir gerade gedacht. Das wäre eine gute Wirtschaft. Yeah, that would be definitely a very good business to be starting. To do. So Umweltorganisationen in Deutschland and Österreich bewegen viel. So there's a lot of environmental organizations that do a lot in Germany and Austria. They bewegen viel, they move a lot, literally. So they do bring about a lot of interest and change. It said, sie unterstützen Projekte mit Geld, das sie gesammelt haben, und sie haben Leitpersonen, die engagiert sind. In dieser Lektion lernen wir mehr über 3 Gruppen und dann suchen wir Informationen über andere Umweltgruppen. So it says that these groups, they support projects with their money that they've, collected. They have personnel, lead personnel who get involved with, environmental projects and things like that. So, gibt es Umweltorganisationen in Kalifornien? Haben wir so Gruppen hier in Kalifornien oder in den USA? Do you know of any groups in California, environmental groups in California?
USA, is that Russia? Is that...
No, USA is the United States.
Oh, okay.
USA.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sunrise?
Wie, Emma?
Sunrise movement?
Sunrise Movement, und was machen die?
Einen Gruppen. They're a group across the US that are an environmental group. And they have chapters in every big city.
Okay, and then is it an overall group, or is there something specific that they work on?
They're a youth climate revolutionary group.
Oh, okay. Okay, so für Klimaanlage, okay. Gut, ich weiß, dass es in Kalifornien den Sierra Club gibt und die machen doch viel in die Wälder und in den Bergen und so weiter. Sie machen sauber. Sie, gehen hin, wo sie bauen wollen und, dann dagegen, meistens sind sie dagegen. The Sierra Club, they do a lot of environmental stuff with the mountains and preserving the land, and that if there are plans for some kind of building, any kind of development, they're there saying the impact that it's going to have on the land in general, the animal, the wildlife, and so on. So they're they're big on that. Ich weiß nicht, ich glaube, es gibt Gruppen am Campus bei Santa Barbara City College und bestimmt auch an der Universität. I'm sure there's environmental groups on both the SBCC campus, I'm sure in Bakersfield also, and at UCSB that do environmental. What was the one? There was, I guess, Greenpeace. They have a ship, right? Or some ships that they are doing work out in the oceans. And who was the one that used to do all the ocean documentaries. Jacques Cousteau, I think that there's an environmental group with his name that does environmental research and such for the oceans, of what's, you know, happening with the oceans, and, you know, trying to keep all of that status quo, that there's no, you know, exploration going on. Especially, I know that they were very much against any oil exploration in the oceans and so on. You know, to preserve that. So, so there's, you know, numerous groups, you know, obviously now lots of climate change groups, you know, dealing with climate change, and, you know, trying to convince the powers that be that it really exists. I still can't believe that there's people out there that don't believe that there's climate change due to, you know, all the fossil fuel that we use and such. You know, what's the latest is the shale drilling that they're doing for oil, and how damaging that is. I think they did some research in Oklahoma
Sorry,
where.
I'll be right back. I have to
Okay.
get a package. That is all right.
Sure, kein Problem. I think there was something about in Oklahoma that all of a sudden they were having like earthquakes, but it was due to that shale drilling or slant drilling, whatever they call it. You know, just, you know, all the stuff that they're doing to get oil out of the ground. So also here's Umweltorganisation Greenpeace in Berlin, Global 2000 in Wien, und Green City in München. So, all right, so Kerstin Dörrenbruch über Greenpeace Berlin. Kerstin, es gibt bei uns Themengruppen. Ich nenne mal die 5 thematischen Gruppen. Das ist einmal Landwirtschaft, einmal Energie, dann haben wir Tierprodukte, dann ist es gerechter Handel, dann gibt es Meer und Wälder. Zu diesen 5 Gruppen gibt es noch eine Gruppe unter 18 und eine Gruppe über 50. Und dadurch sind die Aktivitäten verbunden. Okay, so these are groups. There's 5, you know, themes, thematic groups, like Landwirtschaft is the land, energy, then there's animal products, and then gerechter Handel this is, you know, to do honest Handel it's like, you know, how business is done, you know, to do it justly and honestly. Und dann gibt es Meer, the sea, and forest. And then, you know, in these groups, there's a group for those under 18, and then a group over 50. Okay, so some information on 2 other groups. This is Reinhard Übrig von Global 2000 und Daniel Reitmeier von Green City München.
Wir arbeiten seit mittlerweile über 11 Jahren zusammen mit einer Supermarktkette in Österreich, um den Einsatz von Pestiziden zu reduzieren. Also nicht nur in der Biolandwirtschaft, wo es fast gar keine Pestizide gibt, sondern auch in der konventionellen Landwirtschaft.
Okay, so he says they're working with supermarkets, a big supermarket chain, to deal with pesticides on produce. And you know, he says they don't just work with organic group, but also with regular commercial groups to reduce pesticides, use of pesticides.
Weniger Gift einzusetzen und weniger von dem problematischen Gift. Dann arbeiten wir in den Kampagnen zum Thema GMO, genetisch veränderte Lebensmittel, die in Österreich Gott sei Dank verboten sind. Wir arbeiten sehr stark.
So he says they also work with the GMOs, and that's against the law to use anything that has GMOs in it in Austria. So so it's against the law for anybody to bring in any products that have GMOs in them.
Zu Klimaschutz. Wir wollen, dass Österreich 100% erneuerbare Energien bis 2030 bekommen wird. Das hat die Regierung auch schon gesagt, dass sie machen wird.
So he says, and they're also working with climate change so that by the year 2030, that there would be no fossil fuels used.
Und wir sind sehr stark engagiert gegen Atomkraft. Das ist eben genau die Kampagne, wo wir auch seit mittlerweile 20 Jahren ein Hilfsprojekt für Tschernobyl haben, für die Kinder, die immer noch krank werden aufgrund der Verseuchung durch Tschernobyl.
So he says they also work against the nuclear power, and they're still dealing with children that have gotten sick from the incident in Chernobyl, and so they're trying to deal with not using nuclear energy any longer either.
In Munich?
This is in Austria.
Oh,
This is the Global 2000 is what this group does. They work against using pesticides, against GMOs, against they want to use other fuels besides gasoline, and they're against nuclear energy. This is the Green City in München.
Da muss man vielleicht noch einen Schritt zurückgehen. Also Green City gibt es 25 Jahre und 1990 wurde die Organisation gegründet mit dem Namen München 2000 autofrei. Also man hatte damals das Ziel.
Okay, so this was started in 1990 with the theme that in 25 years, Munich would be autofrei. They would not use cars any longer.
Dass München im Jahr 2000 eine Stadt sein soll, in der man zumindest im Innenstadtbereich kein Auto mehr nutzen muss, um mobil zu sein. Das Ziel haben
The goal was that by the year 2000, inside the city of Munich, they would not use cars any longer. You could get around without having to drive a car.
wir noch nicht ganz erreicht, aber wir versuchen seitdem eben nachhaltige Mobilitätsformen in München zu fördern. Und neben dem öffentlichen Nahverkehr ist das Fahrrad die wichtigste Mobilitätsform. Wir möchten einfach, dass die Münchner möglichst wenig das Auto benutzen und dafür auf andere Verkehrsmittel wie das Fahrrad umsteigen.
So the idea was, to not drive cars in Munich, to use bicycles, and that is, the thing that, most people are using to get around are bicycles, but to use other modes of transportation other than cars. So these are these two groups, the one in Austria and then the one in Munich. All right, so was halten Sie von Umweltorganisationen und arbeiten Sie mit solchen Organisationen? So this time I'm going to let you guys read. One of you can be Talia and the other one can be Birgit. Oh, and then haben wir einen Daniel und ein Seda. So you guys can take turns. And this is working, how they feel about these organizations, and do they work with such, or would they work with such organizations? So, wer möchte anfangen? Emma, möchtest du anfangen?
Ja.
Okay.
Momentan habe ich nicht viel Zeit, um mich bei Umweltorganisationen zu engagieren. Ich habe vor ein paar Jahren bei Glatze oder Spende für Global how do you say 2000?
2000.
2000
Aha.
gemacht. Ich habe mir die Haare abrasieren lassen gegen eine Spende für die Kinder von Tschernobyl. Jetzt, wo ich mein eigenes Kind bekomme, bin ich besonders froh, dass ich das gemacht habe.
Uh-huh, good. So she says she doesn't have a lot of time right now, but a couple of years ago, she did a thing, Glatze oder Spenden. So it was either bald or donate for Global 2000. And she said what she did was she shaved her hair off to get donations for children of Chernobyl. Now that she has her own child, she's going to have her own child. She's very glad that she took part in this. So they people shave their heads for donations for this cause. Gut. Jaime, möchten Sie Birgit lesen?
Ich habe mich immer wieder bei Umweltorganisationen engagiert. I don't know how to say that.
Engagiert.
Engagiert.
Mhm.
Als Akt und sechstens
Mhm.
vor ich immer wieder auf Demos und habe auch an Aktionen teilgenommen,
Teilgenommen. Aha.
seit ich älter geworden bin. Machen ich nicht mehr so viel, aber immerhin alles, was ich kann. Momentan mache ich ein ehrenamtliche
Aha. Aha.
ehrenamtliche
Aha. Ehrenamtliche.
ehrenamtliche Arbeit bei der SPOU.
Mhm.
Das ist war keine Umweltbewegung. Aber die Partei kümmert sich die Umwelt.
Mhm. So Bigger says that she's always taken, always been engaged with environmental organizations. As a 68-year-old, she was, always at demonstrations und habe auch Aktionen teilgenommen, and she took part in actions as she's gotten older. Maybe that she's talking about being from the 60s. I'm not sure what 68er means other than, somebody that was born in 68. So anyway, she says that she's gotten older. She doesn't take part in so many things, but she does what she can. At the moment, she is working with the SPÖ, which is one of the political groups. And she says they're not a environmental organization, but a party that is very concerned about the environment. Maya, möchtest du Daniel lesen?
Ich finde die Umweltgruppen erträglich. Da stehen immer irgendwelche jungen Leute vor meinem Lieblingsbuchladen und wollen, dass ich etwas unterschreibe. Das interessiert mich nicht. Ich finde es aber auch nicht gut, dass die Gletscher abschmelzen. Ich wandere schon über 60
Aha, aha.
ja, Jahre in den Bergen und ich sehe schon von den Fotos, dass die Gletscher in der Zeit kleiner geworden sind. Ich überlege, ob ich mich für die Gletscher einsetze.
Uh-huh, good. So Daniel says that he finds these environmental groups unbearable. He says there's always some young people from his favorite bookstore that are hanging around and asking him, or hanging around his favorite bookstore, asking him to sign something, that he's not interested in that. He does find it not very good that the glaciers are melting. He's wandered for 60 years in the mountains, and he's seen from photos that the glaciers over time have gotten smaller. So he's, thinking about that he should step in for the glaciers, or step up to helping the glaciers. Und Seda sagt, Umwelt finde ich schon wichtig, aber ich konzentriere mich lieber auf Menschen. Man kann nicht immer alles machen. Das ist ja keine Bewegung, aber ich versuche mit dem Fahrrad zu fahren und arbeite in Nachbarschaftsgarten. Weil die Umwelt wichtig ist, versuche ich Strom zu sparen und meinen Restmüll zu reduzieren. So he says the environment is very important, but he'd rather concentrate on people. One can't do everything. It's not a movement, but he tries to ride his bike and work in the neighborhood garden. Because the environment is important, he tries to save electricity and try to reduce his residual trash. Okay, so wir haben letzte Woche, glaube ich, über die Partizipen als Adjektiven besprochen. Und was hier passiert ist, dass man ein Adjektiv benutzt und AND am Ende schreibt und dann Adjektivendungen. So what happens with these participles is you're taking a adjective and you're adding END to the adjective and then adding an adjective ending. And what this is or actually these are using verbs, sorry, not adjectives, making verbs into adjectives. So what you're doing is die Mitglieder gründen eine Gruppe. So the members found a group. Sie sind die gründenden Mitglieder. They are the founding members. So what we're doing in German, they don't have INGs, they don't have any gerunds, but you're kind of creating gerunds here. Your gründen is your gerund, and then you're adding the adjective ending. So here it's the weak en ending for plural, die gründenden Mitglieder, so the founding members. Die Nachbarn nutzen den Garten, so the neighbors use the garden. Sie sind die nutzenden Nachbarn. They are the, using neighbors, or literally they're the neighbors that use the garden. So, what's happening here is you're using present tense. Okay, so you're using the present tense of, or the, literally you're using the verb that, the infinitive of the verb and adding ed. Okay, and then you can also do this in the perfect form where you're using the past participle of the verb and then adding endings. So die Studierenden haben sich engagiert. So the ones studying involve themselves. Sie sind engagierte Studierenden. So they are engaging students, okay? Wir haben Geld gespart. Das ist jetzt gespartes Geld. So we saved money. This is now saved money. Okay, so you're using the past participle, gespart, and then you're adding adjective endings. So Global 2000 arbeitet mit den noch immer krank werdenden Kindern von Chernobyl. So these are Global 2000 works with the still becoming sick children. So the word becoming. So they work with children that are still becoming sick. Das Fahrrad ist ein energiesparendes Transportmittel. So the bicycle is an energy-saving transportation mode. Es ist auch umweltschonend, Fahrrad zu fahren. It's also environmentally sparing to ride a bike. Okay, so that's what these participles are. They're gerunds that we're using as adjectives.
I thought that the Chernobyl thing was contained to certain countries, not that were more above than Austria.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, but I guess it's, it's the reason they've come up with for kids that are getting cancer. I don't know. I didn't think it did either, that it was only countries closer to Chernobyl. I did not know that Germany and Austria had been affected, so. I felt the same way when I read that. I thought, well, that's kind of interesting.
I thought it was Sweden. I could see Germany getting something, but I thought it was Sweden that was getting affected, and Finland from the air going upward. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I to be honest, I was surprised too that Austria was involved in this too. So, all right. Okay, so let's do a little bit more with these participles. Nur weil sie wichtig sind. Okay, so all right, so we did those. Okay, so I guess we did go through all these parcels. Let me see what I gave you guys in the way of homework on those. Ich weiß nicht, ob ich irgendetwas gemacht habe. Nope, I don't think I did, but we did do vielleicht nicht. All right, so let's go back to unser Buch. So dann hier weiter. Umweltbildung. Okay, so was es hier alles gibt. So Gerhard Hofer spricht über Umweltbildung in Wien. So Umweltbildung is environmental, study, education, environmental education.
Ja, mein Name ist Gerhard Hofer, bin Direktor der Umweltbildung Wien und leite hier schon seit 30 Jahren diese Umweltbildungsorganisation. Von unserem Grundverständnis her sind wir nicht eine klassische Umweltschutzorganisation. Wir sind eine Bildungsorganisation, wo der Mensch im Zentrum steht. Der Mensch von 3 bis 99 Jahren, weil wir Programme haben für Kindergärten und Kleinkinder, genauso wie für Senioren und Senioren.
So what he says is they're not a protection agency, but they're about education, and they go from, as young as 3 up to 99, so that people of every age group have programs to be educated on the environment.
Das zentrale Konzept wurde schon vor Jahrzehnten entwickelt und beschreibt einen Dreiklang des Menschen in seiner Mitwelt. Das bedeutet nicht, dass die 3 Klänge einfach zusammen angeschlagen werden und eine additive Mischung entsteht, sondern dass diese Metapher, es ist ja ein Sinnbild, dieser Dreiklang bedeutet, dass jeder dieser Klänge mit seinen Frequenzen den anderen Klang auch beeinflusst. Und wir baden ja in Obertönen, auch wenn wir sie nicht so hören. Und Obertöne sind ja eigentlich das, was uns wohltut. Wissen wir es nicht ganz genau. Und diese 3 Klänge sind eine Art Kraftpaket, das mir selbst auch die Kraft gegeben hat, diese Organisation auch.
So what they're doing is they're hoping through education, people will get, the power to deal with the environment and make better environmental decisions and things.
Zu bauen über die Jahrzehnte.
So that, to do this over the next few, the next few centuries, that the environment will still be around, is what, he's talking about. So Gerhard Hoppe uses the word metaphor to describe the work of Umbildung in Wien. So what other metaphors can you find? Okay, we won't. Yeah, so his big thing is, that nature, nature and the movement within nature has value and should be the center. He has these klungs or these rungs of value, and all the rungs need to work together, influence one another. So you have this movement, the social movement, that with one another, that to be interested in one another and respect, in more facets. And then, in the third rung, it's, that everybody works, on themselves. Sehnsüchten, wenn man sehnsüchtig is, you have these long desires and wishes and dreams, in your, subconscious, that, that we still have, some, Teufelchen, genau wie ein Engel. So, there's a little devil in us along with, the angel, and, we still do things we shouldn't do, You know, I mean, we all say we're doing a lot that we can for the environment, but you know, we're still driving cars or you know, not sorting the trash or something like that. And he considers, you know, those acts as, you know, little devilish acts.
No, speak for yourselves. I'm an angel. I'm joking. I'm just messing with you.
So, and then this was interesting. Es gibt ein Nationalpark Camp Lobau. What this is, it's like an environmental camp. I looked it up, you know, I looked this up on the internet. And it's, you know, it's for all ages and people go and, you know, they live in nature. They have programs for kids, for, you know, older people, for seniors, for families, for, you know, mixed groups, you know, where there's families with kids and seniors and stuff. It was really interesting. This cultural thing, Wald Kindergarten, you know, literally a forest kindergarten, is an idea that started in Sweden in the late 19th century. It's one of the series of opportunities for Umweltbildung, as are the activities at the Nationalpark Camp Lobau. Similar to those activities, Wald Kindergarten focuses on encouraging children to experience and learn about nature. Significant time, if not all time, is spent outdoors, regardless of the weather. Many Waldkindergärten work with the motto, Es gibt kein schlechtes Wetter, nur schlechte Kleidung. So they have this motto that there's no bad weather, just bad clothes. It is believed that spending time in nature improves children's immune systems, develops their sense of coordination, and there is evidence that outdoor-based education is associated with fewer injuries than education indoors. Children play with things found in nature as well as crafted toys. And so some information on some of this. You know, it's kind of a cool idea. And this national park thing, it brings everybody in, not just kids. You know, there's programs for everybody that, you know, you're living in nature with nature. So kind of interesting, you know, take some time and, you know, look this up. It was really pretty. I was looking at the pictures thinking, God, this would be kind of fun. You know, it goes above and beyond camping. You're not just camping, you're also, you know, working on things for the environment and stuff. It was fun, you know, it was not just going, you know, like going camping or something. So so die Zukunft auf Deutsch, the future tense. We've talked about using time elements to talk about the future, like morgen gehe ich spazieren. Nächste Woche brauche ich Gemüse, okay? But we actually do have a future tense in German, and it's the verb werden in the present tense as a helping verb plus the infinitive of the main verb. So, you know, nächste Woche wirst du mit dem Waldkindergarten anfangen. So next week you will start with the forest kindergarten. So here's your conjugated verb form of werden, conjugated to do, and then anfangen, the infinitive at the end. Werden wir die ganze Zeit im Wald sein? So here's werden for they, conjugated to, or to we, I'm sorry. And then sein is the main verb at the end. Okay, so a form of present tense of werden, conjugated for the subject, is in the verb position, and then the infinitive of the main verb is at the very end. So that's in German, the formal future tense. Okay. And here also, obviously, you know, we also are using the time elements to be more specific about the future. Hier sagt Talia, es kann sein, dass es regnen wird. Okay, so here's your form of werden and then the infinitive Regen. Dann wirst du deine Regenjacke und Gummistiefel tragen. Will you wear your rain jacket and your rubber boots? So wirst, conjugated werden, tragen, the main verb at the end. Okay. Kind of makes sense on those?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gehen wir ein bisschen weiter. Let's do, well, vielleicht nicht. Wir machen 5 und 6 am Donnerstag. Okay, we'll do 5 and 6 on Thursday. So, Fragen über irgendetwas, let's see, was es alles gibt diese Woche. Ups. My mouse does not like me today. All right, so wir machen das Genitiv am Donnerstag. We'll do the genitive case on Thursday. So this is the last case in German. And as we'll talk about on Thursday, it's a case that we can get around by using the dative case instead of the genitive case, but you need to be aware of this thing does exist. And it is used, just not as much as it had been used in the past, but it does exist, okay? I added today the final, because I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, we're getting to the end. We're not having a final exam. We're going to do a writing assignment that you'll have plenty of time to do for the final. You don't need to come to class to write it. You can write it at home and then just upload it to Canvas. But we'll talk more about that on Thursday too. Okay. All right. Fragen?
Ja.
Gut, dann habt noch einen schönen Abend und wir sehen uns dann am Donnerstag.
Danke, tschüss.
Dankeschön. Tschüss.
Danke. Tschüss.
Tschüss.